You have 3 voicemails.
Well, teachers are humans as well. They need to feed their kids. They need to buy properties and build their wealth. They need to invest in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So where are they going to get the money if they're just being paid their salary?
Which prepped me really well for my first job as an auditor at Big Four. So my mom's dream has been achieved.
Not your dream. And then whenever I tell someone this story, they're going to say, look, Vietnamese literature, I understand, but math, why are you so dumb? Hello there.
Welcome to the show where we have the convos about Vietnam, you know.
Hello there, and welcome to Convo Comrades, a conversation with the community about Vietnam. Long, do you know that in 1990 World Cup, there's an Englishman who shot himself on the pitch?
I do not know that. Thank you for telling me that.
And then he was like trying to scrape the shit out of his shorts and then continue playing football.
Oh, he was a football player.
Yeah.
I thought he was a spectator.
No, he represented England. And he shot himself. And he sat there. He sat there on the pitch for like 5 minutes. Everyone thought, oh, he pulled his hamstring. medic, come and support him, come and help him. And he was like, no, it's fine, I don't need it. And then he was just trying to scrape the shit out of his. Anyway, you can YouTube it, yeah.
Okay.
And then I don't think any of the defenders marked him.
Yeah, a very good tactics now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
no, thank you.
I don't think we're talking about Englishmen shitting themselves on the pitch in World Cups, are we?
No, we're talking about something very
Find the adjective.
deep is what I could get up.
Deep. What are we talking about?
Education, how we become the adult we are today, especially given our background. Asian, Vietnamese, yes, lots of Asians. I mean, lots of Asian expectations.
That's racist. Okay. It's not our fault that we're procreating. Okay, so the topic today is about education and linking it back to Asian expectations. So Asian expectations itself is massive, right? It's a huge umbrella. You know, you can have expectations on education, on jobs, careers, but also in terms of marriage, in terms of, you know, kids, in terms of religion, so on and so forth. We'll not try to cover everything in Asian expectations, but we'll try to hone in into 2 particular areas, which is education and careers and jobs.
Why do you think there is Asian expectations and less so Western expectations?
Okay, so caveat here. For this particular podcast, I told Long that I had not prepared anything.
Yes.
But Long's been doing so much research in the background, and I'm seeing his notes right now about something about French colonialism and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think, Long, you're going to have to carry this podcast, and I'm just going to chip in because I have not prepared anything. But in terms of Asian expectations, I think in terms of that phrase and that term, we've been influenced a lot by Americans' perception of Asian expectations. You know, Asians are good at math. Asians should get A's, not B's, because Asian starts with an A. You know, Asians are the best in class, the model minority, that's what they call it. But I think from our perspective, given that, you know, we're from Vietnam, the expectation is even broader than that, right?
Yes, much broader. And I think it all comes from, the community. You know, everyone lives inside a community and share many things with one another versus the, you know, individualism in the West, right? And when you live so close to everyone else, it's hard not to compare and not to want more. So what is the other person having that I don't have? And I want to have that. And so we link back to, okay, careers and education. So that person's kid is doing so good. My kid can do as good. So I want my kid to do more. So I think it links back to the community-driven way of life in Asian expectations.
Okay, history teacher, tell us.
History time. So I think before we
Are you going to auto-tune that?
No, I'm raw. Okay, so before we talk about education, Asian expectations, and the potential problems with it, right? We have to understand where it comes from. And I have to say, I had a fun time researching for this topic. I didn't know many things. Anyway, I don't want to bore everyone to death about history. But Vietnam in particular, we had a strong influence from China in the ancient time. That's Confucius.
Do you know the meme? Confucius says.
Yes, of course. It's a quite racist meme. If it comes from someone not Asian.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, so Confucius' core of teaching is man is at the center of universe, but he is nothing without community. And that's how all the community mindset comes in. And we used to learn Chinese, how to write Chinese, but we pronounce it in Vietnamese way. So that explains a little bit of why we still have some similarity in our pronunciation, right? So linking back to education, traditionally we all studied to benefit the community. We don't study for ourselves. We don't study for personal advancement. This is in ancient time.
Really? Okay. How so?
So it's all about community. If you study, you are expected to contribute that knowledge back to the community and build it up, develop it further, right? Whereas today, I think everyone is studying for themselves. I want to study to use Photoshop for for my photos, or to provide services to other people's photo, but in exchange for money, something like that. But back then, education is more, okay, we have to grow as a community. You will study math to calculate for the community, right? Okay.
Calculate what? Calculate how many slaves we're going to have.
Okay, I'm speculating here, but okay, there's a general environment that, okay, you study for the community.
Okay.
Back then, you have to understand with the limitations of internet. Okay, there's no internet. Right? There's no internet. There's no other way.
What do you mean? Sometimes the king gets some Wi-Fi. Internet is limited to the public.
Yeah, no internet back there. So the only way for people to hope for a better life is through education. You have to study. Good grades means good positions, good jobs, and then good jobs means good life, right? So education is the stepping stone to everything. So there's been
Hold it right there. I'm going to challenge you now.
Challenge me.
Wait, you said that people studied for the community, but then with education comes good positions.
Yes.
Good career.
Yes.
That's contradictory.
So on the face of it, I agree that the purpose of education is for community. When a government sets out scholarships or something like that, its purpose is to better the whole community, right? But you cannot prevent people from desire, right? Personal motive, right? When they see education and they see the pathway for more money, they automatically link it, and they said, okay, community, yeah, that's fine. But all I'm seeing is education equals more money. So personal motive inside is good grades, good jobs, good life. But outside feelings, community. Yeah. Am I making sense?
I'm going to let you off then.
But yeah, I agree. It's contradicting.
Sorry.
Contradictory, yeah. Anyway, so Confucius also teach and also establish teacher as an authority. And do you feel that, right? In Vietnam, teacher is an authority, sometimes even more so than parents.
Oh man, definitely.
Yeah, parents will have to be like, oh, hello, dear teacher, here's some gift or something like that.
We're going to go to some really funny stories later on.
Yeah.
That's what I prepared.
There's also a mindset of subordination in the classroom because, teacher is authority, students should not talk back. And maybe we can talk about how this affects learning, because students, if they are subject to such subordination. They don't feel that they can speak out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, stepping away from that Chinese influence, we move on to French colonization.
Oh, I've not heard about that.
Anyway, yeah, so that's why we also have some French similarities in the Vietnamese language. They did help build some schools, but the whole purpose from serving the community shifted to serving the colonial system, right? Teaching French. So now they use French. But they didn't build a lot of schools, so a lot of people were illiterate. Doesn't know how to write, doesn't know how to read.
I'm so pissed off because the Brits came to India and they left English. The French didn't leave us French.
Yeah, we have a few words. Can you guess which word is French?
Oh,
in our
thanks. Oh, thanks for leaving us the word ballet. Ooh, that's amazing. We're going to use it in our everyday life and then further progress ourselves. Bloody hell, leave like at least, a combination of 3,000 to 5,000 words, so that we can string them together to communicate.
There's one more word which I'm impressed.
Okay.
Do you know which one?
No, I don't.
It's safam.
Okay, fine. That was really helpful because now it's COVID, right?
Yes.
So we use that a lot to save our population. Fine. Thank you so much, French colonists.
Anyway, yeah, so they tried to build schools, but not a lot. A lot of people were illiterate. And when we gained independence, 1945, that's a big year in history class right there.
Why are you reading it like, some iPhone password? 1945, 1945.
Maybe it's the accountant in me. I don't always, when I read numbers, I read them as is, single digit.
You're going to have a hard time when you go back to Vietnam and you read Vietnamese currency.
1945.
Hey, I'm going to pay for your fur bow. 119000.
11900. That's a expensive bow.
I think fur bows are expensive these days, aren't they?
Yeah, I remember those days when it's just 5,000 dong.
No, I don't, because I was overseas.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that because we're gonna share our experience.
All right, okay, continue.
Okay, yeah, so after that, 1945, right? Independence, Ho Chi Minh, our great leader. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Said a revolutionary program to teach everyone how to read, how to write, how to compete with the world, so lots of flyers flying around promoting education. And this is how I think education and politics link in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we study is ultimately what the government wants us to study, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you take North Korea, then, they don't study a lot of things to protect the regime, right? So government and education is somewhat linked.
Well, we studied civic education to become decent human beings. Oh my God, I'm going to rant later on this.
Okay, so politics and education is linked, and that's how, it was pushed way before by Ho Chi Minh. And it's great. Everyone knows how to read, how to write. And yeah, I think that's it. That's the history of education right there.
Oh, thank God it's finished.
So, what are you getting out of this? Do you feel any? Do you have any?
I'm excited. It's over.
Do you have any so that's why moment? Do you have that's why moment?
That's why moment. Don't you mean it's like epiphany or realization or something?
Yes, realization.
But it's okay. I can answer your question on the that's why moments that I have.
Yeah, that's why moment. What, do you have any feelings?
No.
Oh, okay. I had a what is it? Tiffany. I've never used that word before.
Epiphany or realization.
Yeah, I know realization. But epiphany. Yeah, I will use that word now. I had an epiphany when I researched for it.
Okay.
Why we have some French words in our Vietnamese language, why the teacher is such a big authority, and why we can't argue with him in the classroom.
Why are you saying it's him? It can be her.
Or her, or they, them. No offense to anyone.
What's the next section, Long, of the podcast?
Okay, next section, we're gonna dig deep into education.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that we know history, let's rip it apart, right? Let's rip it. Let's understand it. Why do we study? When I talk about education, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Knowledge.
In my case, it's boring classroom.
Okay. Amazing.
And the reason why I said boring classroom is traditionally with the limitation of internet, right? You don't learn a lot outside of classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I learn in classrooms boring things.
Mm-hmm.
Maths, biology, things like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all I think of education is boring. But now time has changed, right? You can learn a lot of things outside of classroom by yourself.
Beat making.
That's right. I learned beat making on the internet, and I'm amazed at what I can do with the internet. And you learn videography, right? Videoing.
Videography. Yes, I learned videography. on the internet.
Yeah, so it's all self-learn, right? There's no internet classes. I mean, there's no classroom classes.
Yeah.
To teach us all those things. So education has evolved, and maybe I need to change my thinking now. Education is much more than the boring classroom.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we share our experiences then across primary school, secondary school, high school, and university?
Yes, and I think it's good to compare and contrast because we have such different journeys. Yes, journeys.
Yeah. All right, you go first then. Primary school. What was primary school like for you?
It was back in 1999. 6 years old, first grade.
I thought you were supposed to say 199.
That's right. But when it comes to my birth year, then I read it to you.
Long, answer the question quickly.
Okay, I went to a public school.
Mm-hmm.
Public primary school in Ho Chi Minh City. Chung Yat School.
Duck luck.
Chung Yat School. Phu Nhuận District. Anyone Phu Nhuận District out there?
No.
Anyway, it's a big classroom, 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
We all have uniforms. Let's see what I can remember. No, nothing else.
Okay, my turn then.
Yeah, your turn.
I have to stop you before you start listing like all the little bits of description. There was a spider in the corner.
Yeah, your turn. And then maybe I can remember more.
Okay, so I was very fortunate to go to the UK when I was a little kid, and I did primary school in the UK in London. And I went to a church school.
Oh.
And this was a crazy experience. It was so new to me. And of course, I was like one of the only Asians, maybe one of the only two Asians in the class, in a class of around 20. And I used to get bullied a lot because I didn't know English. So I was relatively bigger than some of the kids, but there was this little kid, tiny little kid, kind of like the size of Andy.
Okay. Yeah.
Who would bully me, right? And he would punch me, and then he would make me cry. And then he would go to the teacher and tell the teacher that I punched him.
What the?
So I would get punched, I would cry, and then I would get screamed at by the teacher, and then I would cry again. So I remember I had to go back. I had to go back home and tell my parents. My mom was so pissed. Like my mom was like, the angry lioness, right, trying to protect her cub. Yeah. So she was like, "All right." She takes out the dictionary. And of course, like, we didn't have internet back then, right? Or it wasn't that, common. So it was like this thick-ass dictionary with thousands and thousands of pages. She was trying to string together all the words. And like, "All right, Tomorrow, when that little kid beat you up, and then when the teacher comes, say these words. He beat me first. So on my way to school, I was like, he beat me first. 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 So obviously that day I got beaten up again.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off. The teacher came and I just screamed at the teacher forwards. He beat me first. He beat me first. He beat me first. He beat me first. And she was like, holy shit, this kid knows English. And then that kid got told off. The Andy kid, the short little Andy kid.
Yeah.
Got told off. And he never touched me again. So that was my primary school experience. It was amazing. And then I told you I went to a church school, right? So far the stories have not really been very churchly.
Yeah.
We're supposed to love one another and all that stuff. But every Thursday we would go to the church and we would sing hymns. And hymns are like, religious songs. So I love the hymns, all right? You sing about God and Jesus and all that stuff. I mean, I was a little kid. I didn't know anything. I think there was actually a point in time where I really, truly believed in God and Jesus. I really identified myself as a Christian just because, I spent 5 years in primary school there.
Yeah.
And then you would eat the bread. It's part of the tradition. And then you would drink a bit of wine as well. I'm not entirely sure how you could drink wine as a kid back then, but maybe it's kind of like cranberry juice or something. But yeah. Anyway, you did all of those ceremonies and it was an amazing experience. So that was my primary school. So learning-wise, in terms of all the subjects, it was amazing. You learn a lot about UK history. You do a lot of math. But math was super easy. I don't know if it's the Asian genes in me, but I tended to be like really good at math. So I was in this select group of 3 to 4 kids who would do like high level math compared to the rest of the class. Right? So we would do like much more complicated exercises. And yeah, generally, I really enjoyed primary school. It was an amazing experience. A lot of good exercises, applications, all that stuff.
What's your classroom size?
20.
So a little bit smaller than mine. Mine is 50.
Much smaller.
Okay, I remember some things about my my primary school experience. You have to wear a uniform.
Yes.
So similarity there. Interesting. Back to my primary school experience. There was a general sense of confusion when I was in there. I didn't know what I was doing. All I remember is, why am I here?
Who am I? What is life?
Why do I go to this place with 49 other kids and look at the board and then copy exactly what's on the board to my notebook? Why is it? What is it for? We studied loads of different subjects which I don't find interesting at all. We also studied history, but I don't find it interesting.
How did you study history? Was it through a textbook again?
Yeah, textbook.
And then you write the same stuff into your notebook?
Yeah, so the teacher write in whatever, 1945, Vietnam gained independence. Write that down,
You
kids.
did not study that in primary school.
1945. Okay, I'm just making it up. But there is some sort of history element there, right?
Yeah.
What was big back then was learning to write literature. Tập làm văn, right? That's a subject. Learning to write a paragraph.
So Vietnamese literature in general.
Yes. How to express a point.
Mm-hmm.
That got me confused the most. I didn't know what's the purpose of this.
So they didn't do it very well then.
Yeah, but it just went straight into, okay, you're gonna describe the place you like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Please write it. And I don't understand, why do I have to write it? What's the purpose here?
That's good. You're building your critical thinking. So is this any different to your secondary school experience then?
No difference at all.
It's the same thing.
But wait, we're finding similarities as well. We sing national anthem too, so we don't sing hymns like that. You sing every Thursday, right? We were singing every Monday, and we have to bow to the flag.
It's not bow, man. It's like say hi to the flag.
Yeah. Say hi to the flag.
You're right up there. You're right. But it's I think the actual term is greet the flag.
Yes, greet the flag in the beginning of the week and listen to some more nonsense from the head teacher.
Yeah, it's like announcements and all that stuff.
But I never understand why am I here?
Yeah.
Why-
You have to stand under the sun.
So, wait, back to your primary school, right? You didn't know English. What did you study?
I studied English.
Oh, how did you study?
I have no idea. It's magical. You know, like when you're a kid and you're just thrown into this environment,
Yeah.
it's magical how you just absorb the language slowly.
Hmm.
I have no idea. I can't remember for nuts how I built my English. It's just random stories, random stuff. Like, you know, when you play football and then, you know, you do that gesture with your hand, right, to show the ball.
Yeah.
And you ask, where's the ball? Because let's play football. And then the kid will point at that and he'll say, tennis ball. And then you start to learn these words.
Yeah. So you try to use hand gestures and language combined.
Yeah, it's weird. It's fascinating.
So your academic performance, does it suffer in the beginning because you cannot write, you cannot read?
Course.
Like, you know, do you learn how to write?
I can't remember. No, but it's very different, Long. So, for example, history, yeah? When we learned about the UK history, it was less textbook. It was a lot of watching movies
Oh, okay.
and then looking at drawings. So I knew a lot about the Roman Empire, you know, the shields that they have that is like rectangular and red.
Yeah.
You know, you visualize things a lot rather than just look at words.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
My case, I was confused a lot. Even it's in my language, in Vietnamese. But there was no picture. There was some pictures on the textbook which we love drawing nonsense on.
Show the moustache on the guy.
Yeah, but when the teacher explained things, it's very dry. You know, maybe they were trying to explain it, or maybe they were just reading off textbook. But I was just staying there listening to it. I don't understand anything.
This is fascinating. You made a very good point here. So you studied an environment in a language that you understood,
Yeah.
but you were so confused about the content. Whereas
Yeah.
I studied an environment in a language that I did not understand, but I find it really fun and
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah. So the whole education, primary, secondary school for me was just not good. Confusion. Confucius.
I was hoping that we could go through this whole conversation without you pulling that joke. Okay, so my secondary school story here.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
So secondary school, I finished primary school and I flew back to Vietnam. Okay, so I had secondary school experience in Vietnam, in Hanoi, in Trung Vương Secondary School. So back then it was considered probably one of the top, if not the top secondary school in Hanoi as well.
Nice.
So in order to get into the school, so I flew back, I think a month before the school entrance exam. So you had to take 3 exams. Have I told you the story?
No.
Oh, okay. You had to take 3 exams, right? One in Vietnamese literature, one in math, and then one in English. So in 1 month, I didn't prepare anything for English. And my mum hired a tutor to teach me Vietnamese literature and a bit of math. That's all. It was just cramming a lot of Vietnamese literature, just Vietnamese language. Study it, boy, study it. So we took the test. Guess my Vietnamese literature mark.
All right. So preparation, nothing for English, loads of Vietnamese literature and some math.
Yes.
On a scale of 10, right?
Yeah, Vietnamese literature out of 10.
1 month.
Yeah.
I'd say 7.
What are you on about? Dude, look, even
wait, secondary school.
at the end of my secondary school, I couldn't even get 7. What you want? Okay, I'm not even gonna wait for you. I got 1. Okay.
Oh no, that's bad. That's bad.
Oh really?
That's
Yes,
really
it is.
bad. That's bad.
I got
1
1.
is. I got depressed if I get 1.
Well, thanks for making me feel good. So I got 1 for Vietnamese literature. Guess my math.
Secondary math, right?
Yeah. Entrance exam.
5.
What are you on about? Math, I got 2.
What the hell?
And then whenever I tell someone this story, they're going to say, look, Vietnamese literature, I understand, but math, why are you so dumb?
How can you get 2?
My counter to that is, well, in order to solve a math problem, you have to read the bloody question. But the bloody question is in Vietnamese, man. I didn't understand shit.
That's true.
So I read the Vietnamese literature paper exam. I didn't understand shit. I think I left it literally blank. Maybe I scribbled some crap. Oh yeah, I did write my name, so that was fine. And then the math one, I did not understand a single thing because all the questions were in Vietnamese. Yeah. I was like, what the hell is all of that? So I got 2. It's kind of like, you know, if I give you a paper now and it's written in alien, right? And it says, solve it long. How do you solve it? Right? But then when you know that, it actually means 1 + 1 = what, then you can solve it.
Yeah.
You just didn't understand what it meant. All right, so that's my math. So English is a particular different score because it's out of 20. And the reason why is because, you know, in Vietnam, you have like your standard class and then you have a specialized class, right? So I applied for the specialized English class. So that means that class will be doubling down on English, will be doing much more advanced stuff when it comes to studying English compared to all the other classes in school. So English is out of 20. What's my score?
I'm guessing 15.
50. Come on, man. No, but this is the opposite reaction. So I got 19.5 out of 20 for English. All right.
Yeah.
So I got 1 for Vietnamese literature. I got 2 for math, and I got 19.5 out of 20 for English.
Yeah.
So I don't know how magically I got into the English class of Chinh Vung Secondary School. I'm not sure whether my mum had to, like, you know, speak to the teacher.
Please.
No, not even that. Maybe, you know, a little something in the background. But I don't know. But anyway, the feedback that I got from my form teacher was that in how many years of her teaching experience, she had never read an exam entrance answer like mine. Because I think the essay question was like, describe the school, right?
Yeah.
And then all the kids were taught in primary school to say, you know, the school is yellow. You know, there are teachers, you know, there are students, they go to class, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then she remembered that my paper was like super poetic. So something about, you know, the autumn leaves falling down gracefully, you know, on the school ground, and, you know, you can hear the kids singing and playing in the background and all that stuff. And she was like, what the hell is this? We've got to get this kid into the class. So so that was my entrance into secondary school in Vietnam, and it was a completely different experience. Because I told you before, my primary school experience was very different to yours, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to study in a Vietnamese class, like, you know, in the UK, there's this thing called personal space. But in a Vietnamese class in secondary school, you're stuffed in a small room with like 50 kids, like, right? Like you. It's like just overpopulation. And it's so bloody hot. There was no air conditioning at that point in time. You know, if you move your elbow, you hit someone.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's an absolute nightmare. It was also a really good experience as well. I made a lot of friends there.
So how's your overall experience of learning subjects there? Was it easy to understand?
No, I hated it.
Why? Why do you hate it?
I hated it. Because it's very, I mean, I hope things have changed now, because this was like around 10 years ago, right? But it's very kind of like copy and paste format.
Yeah.
You know, you get some teachers who are very good. For example, my English teacher, she's very good, right? She'll mix things up. But then you get your traditional teachers who are so bad. They go in, they open the textbook, they just read stuff out.
Yeah.
I got this guy who taught physics. He literally goes into the class, everyone's just talking, he doesn't give 2 shits. He's got a briefcase, he takes out his textbook, opens the page and starts reading. And it's kind of like an expectation in the class now. Every time it's physics class, you know, you get to play. You get to chit chat, you get to eat stuff in the class, because he doesn't care. I swear he probably went through like a midlife crisis at that point in time. He just goes in and he starts reading. It's kind of like his reading practice session. He goes in, he opens it, and he starts reading. All right, so, you know, lesson number 15, you know, how do we connect the electricity socket to... He starts reading all that stuff. It was so boring. And he was like, whoever cares will care.
Yeah.
And then you got those kind of like teacher's pets and those who want to do really well right in the front of the class, and they'll start like copying shit down. The rest of the class, we're just like talking about video games and all that stuff. So you got those kind of teachers. But then, like I said, my English teacher was revolutionary. She was different, right? She would go in, and what she would do is she would not touch the textbook, right? The first 10 minutes of the class is dedicated to speaking. Now, you're going to think, this is crazy. You don't get marked for speaking when you're studying English, right? In secondary school in Vietnam. You only get marked for like doing paper exercises and writing exercises. But she really wants to improve the listening and the speaking aspect of her students. So she'll go in and then she'll ask this question, anything to say? And then the whole class would just shut up. No one says anything. And then she's a very scary teacher as well. So everyone's very scared. And then there'll be like a handful of students where the whole class will look towards to save the class. And including me. So sometimes I'm just going to have to stand up and tell a story, right? What happened over the weekend, or what I did, or, you know, how my friend rode a bike and then hit the car, something like that. Or how we played football and we got beaten up. That's a true story as well. In English, I think the whole class will listen, but then when you start talking, everyone gets really engaged, and then you get another kid standing up and then giving your response to your story as well, and then telling another story, and then it's kind of like a chain reaction. So that was really, really cool.
That sounds like how education should be to me, right?
The physics guy.
No, the English teacher. That sounds really fun and just a new way of teaching. So my secondary experience was the same as my primary. I'm confused. I don't know why I'm here. People are writing things on the board again. So to me, until that point, I thought the objective of education is to copy exactly what is on the board to my notebook. And then depends on the subject, you study it by heart. So you can do the you know, kiểm tra those the
what do you think about the mouth test?
Mouth test, right? So they test if you can remember last lesson.
It's the worst thing ever. Can you describe to everyone what the mouth test is?
Okay, so imagine this is your first day learning. Your teacher writes some things on the board. You have to copy exactly that thing down before it got wiped. Otherwise, you don't know what's the content. And then you have to study it by heart, just so in the next lesson, there's a chance that the teacher will call one or two out of the whole class and test that. So can you repeat last week's sentence or last time's content?
The definition of something, right? It's always like the definition of it, and then the application of it, and then an example. And you have to regurgitate, you have to spit out the exact same thing that you copied down the last week in this week.
I mean, as a kid, what I see the purpose of that is training your ability to memorize, but not teaching the meaning of the subject. So if it's physics, then no, I'm not going to understand physics, but I'm going to memorize everything that's in my notebook. So to me, it trains my memorizing skills. I have a very good memorizing skills now, thanks to the Vietnamese education system. But understanding skill, I have to rebuild that later on when I go to the UK and start my university and A levels. But so did you have to do many of those mouth exercises?
Of course. And I was always like shitting my pants whenever, you know, the teacher looks at her list of students and then tries to pick out a name. And then there's this girl in my class. well, Tashi, you know her.
Yeah.
She's the head of the class, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like, the head student. And then she used to be a teacher's pet. I hated her. And she listens to our podcast as well. Hello.
Hello. No, you look, I'm talking to her now. You look really bright. So, yes, intelligent.
No, she's just, look, well, she and other kids were just good at memorizing stuff. I hated those kids. Oh my God. Hated them so much because they get good grades and I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I remember there was this particular subject, civic education, right?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, civic education is a subject that teaches you how to be a human being.
Yeah.
You get lessons in there like, how to be forgiving.
Yeah.
Huanzong or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And then it'll give you an example, like Hua goes down the street and then Hua gets beaten up. Probably not like that, but anyway. So civic education. So the head student got picked and, she's supposed to be the teacher's pet. So no one expected her to get picked, but she got picked to go up and start regurgitating about like, let's call it, forgiving. What is forgiving?
Yeah.
Give an example of forgiving, when is forgiving good, when is forgiving bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And down at my desk, I was just like fingers crossing, hoping that she would mess it up. It was the most satisfaction that I would get for that entire month. Like just screw it up. You don't remember shit. Just screw it up. And she did screw it up. The thing is, she screwed it up. She didn't remember anything. She didn't study for it, or not even study. She didn't memorize it, right?
Oh.
She didn't think she got picked. So I was like, all right. This. I'm sorry for using this word, but back then I thought, this B, right? Oh, this B is getting a 1. Yes. I'm so happy. And then she got a 6. I'm like, what? How did she get a 6? Oh my God, I was so angry. I was about to protest. Like every normal kid would get a 1 for that because you don't remember anything. Maybe a 2, right?
Yeah,
if you're able to just like say 1 or 2 keywords, you might get a 2. She got a 6 for that. I was so angry. And I think the teacher was trying to save her face, right? And because she's like the model student and she's the head student, she got a 6. It's kind of like a warning. But a 6 to her is like a 1 to me. So she was devastated. Like her parents are probably going to tear her apart.
Yeah.
But I was angry. I was so angry. But yeah, Tashi and I, we get along now. It's fine.
Yes. I remember there was a lot of speculation because we all have our names listed in alphabetical orders. And, we all speculate, okay, should I study for this lesson or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
what the chances are it's 1 out of 50.
Yeah. And we take notes and we remember the pattern. So last time, he called someone in the 1 to 10 range, and then he remained in that range. Let's know we are in the 20 to 30. It's not gonna. So we do that by case.
Yeah, but there was this biology teacher that I had.
Yeah.
What she did? Oh, it was horrible. What she did was she picked on all the Changs in the class.
What? All the what?
All the Changs.
Changs. Like the people named Chang.
There are 6 Changs in our class. 6 consecutive weeks, she'll pick each Chang. It was so bad, but then for the rest of the class, everyone was so happy. Oh my God, it was crazy. So yeah, different teachers have different patterns of how they pick on students. It's crazy.
Yeah, so what I get from all this secondary school things was how to memorize, how to write quickly, and if you're sick, you need to borrow someone's notes, copy it.
Yeah.
Being sick was just the worst thing ever. You miss the whole class. And there's also the problem of extra classes, right?
Oh man.
Because there's no way you can understand, especially the core subjects like math, physics, and chemistry. Sometimes even literature. There's no way you can understand all that in 1 hour's worth of lesson. So the teacher often offers, hey, You want to go to my evening classes where I explain everything in detail with a step-by-step guide of how to, how to get a 9 or 10. And the teacher said that to the whole class, and some were like, oh, yeah. Let me do that. I'll talk to my parents. And I was confused back then, so I didn't communicate anything to my parents. So I just said, okay, that's not compulsory, right? Everyone said, no, that's not compulsory. Then I ignored it. I kept just learning the main lesson.
Yeah.
And that's why I got so bad. The highest I ever got in math was like 6, 7. I could never get into the 8.
That's terrible.
8, 9, 10 range. No, because I don't know how. There's no step-by-step guide. I was particularly bad at math because math you cannot memorize.
But now you're an accountant.
No, accountant is different than math. Math, you need to use your
brain.
Yeah, because a different problem needs different solution.
Yeah.
Whereas if a history, I always get 10 because there's no thinking there. It's just what happened on this year, on this year, on this year.
1945.
So I didn't do any of those extra classes until high school. That's when I realized, oh shit, I need to do it.
But do you think some teachers deliberately make sure that the official classes are really difficult to follow? Either they move really fast or they explain things not in a lot of detail deliberately so that the students would have to go to their extra classes?
I think so. There's to some extent. If the teacher is giving out evening classes, then, there's a conflict of interest there. If he or she explained too detailed in the main class, then there's going to be less students in the evening class.
Yeah.
And evening class is when he can charge more because it's a private. He has the power to set prices, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the problem, isn't it? It's systematic. It's not just them, it's the whole system. Because in the official education classes and setting, they're not paid enough.
Yeah.
Well, teachers are humans as well. They need to feed their kids. They need to buy properties and build their wealth. They need to invest in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So where are they going to get the money if they're just being paid their salary? They have to find alternative revenue streams. And one of the most lucrative revenue streams that they can create is this extra class situation.
Yeah.
And that's why there's every incentive in the world for them to make sure that they get as many students to go to the extra class as possible. This is a systematic problem that the Ministry of Education has to fix.
Exactly.
The government has to fix.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I'm ranting again here. So going back to my first year in secondary school, right? So I finally got into that class after my entrance exam. I went into the class. I didn't understand shit. Because everything was moving so fast, everything was in gibberish. So I didn't understand Vietnamese.
Yeah.
And then also, once I slowly understood Vietnamese, I still couldn't understand anything because I realized that 3 months ago, everyone had gone to the summer extra class. They had studied everything before.
Yeah.
They had studied everything that was taught to me on that day before. So everyone was doing super well. Everyone was breezing through the exercises. I was struggling so much. I thought, this is so unfair.
Yeah.
Right? You're supposed to go to the class to be taught things. But then there's this pre-class work that you can actually do. Is kind of like knowing all the answers before.
Exactly.
And then it gets even worse if you go to the extra classes and then the teachers give you the essay questions.
And
it's
like
so
the exam,
bad.
like the exam questions before.
It's terrible. And that happened.
Yeah. So it's like
I was part of the extra class, so I knew. Yeah. But then I just thought, oh my God, what if the other kids didn't go to this class? How are they going to figure this out? It's crazy.
There's another angle to this as well, is the amount of time students spend to learn something. They're supposed to only spend it during the daytime, right? And at nighttime or at afternoons, it's better spent doing something else, like activities that would give them exposure to the world, maybe charity, I don't know, or maybe just social activities. Okay, so I was the one who didn't know I have to take extra class. I would suffer in grades. And the ones who know that, okay, I need extra classes will suffer in other activities. So they have less time to do the things they like, find out their hobbies. All of their time is in studying math in the daytime and studying extra math in the nighttime. So all the time is taken purely for grades, purely for a good school, purely for a good career later. So it's stuck in this path, right?
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I think the education system has changed and has been updated quite a lot since then. Because I'm looking at some of the my younger friends on Facebook now, right? And I'm looking at them and how they're experiencing education. There's a greater emphasis on co-curricular activities, like dancing clubs, sports clubs, all of that stuff to build that skill set, that socialization skill sets, leadership skills, management skills, so on and so forth. So there is greater emphasis. I think there needs to be more. It needs to be more structured. And then also, I think schools, like overseas schools, international schools are popping up. So they pose like a competition to your traditional public schools. So now the public schools have to adapt and to make sure that they incorporate into their curriculum as well.
Exactly. I think the international schools or semi-international schools is pretty good in terms of incorporating extracurricular activities in. And teachers are generally paid well. Because tuition is much more expensive anyway. So you don't have to worry about teachers offering evening classes. But the downside is tuition is much higher and not everyone can afford. But if the public schools can somehow compete with that in a much more affordable way for everyone to have the same experience, then okay. So high school.
Oh man, high school for me is completely different experience as well.
Okay.
I think high school is the exact same for you.
Okay, what's your experience?
So I was fortunate enough to gain a scholarship to go to Singapore for high school. So it's a completely different country again. And I think in Singapore, it pushes Asian expectations to the max. Singapore is a very competitive country. It's a very education-focused country. Combine that with the fact that I got a scholarship as well. So there's a lot of emphasis on me doing well. And then combine that with the fact that I got a scholarship in the #1 school in Singapore as well. And to put it into context, I'm not just bragging here, but if you were to like Google any Singapore leader, I'm sure like 80% of them would come from my school. So it's kind of like known to be the school that generates leaders for Singapore.
What school is that?
Raffles Institution. It's RI, right? The abbreviation is RI. Like, a few months ago, I'm working now, right? A few months ago, I had a project in Singapore. So I went to Singapore. Yeah. And it was great to be back in Singapore. And, I was just chatting with a number of cab drivers, right? Every time I had to move around the city. And every time they asked me which school did I used to go to in Singapore back in my years. And when I say RI, there was just a general reaction of, oh my God. That's why. Oh, amazing. Oh, RI, Yeah. The school brand in Singapore is absolutely crazy. Yeah. But yeah, the expectations in RI was so great. And it was very stressful for me. And I think we talked about it, right? In our podcast with Chang. Chang was also one of the people who left Chung Bung Secondary School in Vietnam to go on the scholarship with me to Singapore. And it was a very stressful environment because Singapore's motto is work hard, play hard. And when I say work hard, is like study like crazy. And play hard is also like work hard. So it's kind of like work hard. Because even when you play, it's kind of like, you pick an extracurricular activity. Yeah. You have to be the best you can be in that. You have to train like crazy.
Why?
So I picked... Because it's so competitive. It's so bloody competitive because you're going to compete on a national level. I mean, Singapore is relatively small, right? So you're competing on a national level with all the other schools in that particular sport or arts or anything that you picked.
But what's wrong with losing? If you lose, that's fine.
Yeah, but it's fine to lose. You feel like shit because you're in the best school. So look, let me describe to you, okay? So I'm not going to even talk about the education side of things, the academic side of things, because that was intense. It was crazy, right? But okay, actually, I am. I'm going to tell you a typical day.
Typical day. Let's compare, and I'll tell you mine later.
Well, I know what yours is going to be like. So a typical day, all right? Wake up at like 6:30 or something in boarding school. Get prepared, go down to my boarding. canteen, have some quick breakfast, then go to the schoolyard, and then we sing the Singapore national anthem as well. Well, I didn't, but then the other guys did, right?
Okay.
Then you go to classes, you study like all these crazy subjects, like, for example, English literature, which I picked, learned a lot about Shakespeare, and then study about math. Oh my God, math was so intense. Economics, all that stuff. And then have lunch. If you have breaks in between, you're going to have to do your homework because there's a lot of stuff to do. And then you go to other classes. And then if you have breaks in between, you do your homework. Then around 5 or 6, that's when you go to your co-curricular activity, right? The co-curricular activities that I picked was football. And I was the vice captain back then. So football, like, it was proper full kit, shin pads, long socks, proper football boots, go into like proper fields with grass with 20 footballs. It's not like you have one football and you play with each other, right? It's like actual real football training, right?
Yeah.
Go in there, you do all sorts of crazy exercises, drills, and then at the end of the day, around 9 p.m., that's when you do intense fitness training, run around the tracks. There's like beepers and buzzers and timings and all that stuff. We got sponsored by Adidas.
Wow.
Yeah. All our kit are Adidas. It's proper. I'm not even kidding. It's like semi-pro, right? It was so tiring. It was so intense, right? There are breaks. Sometimes we go in after training and then we'll analyze videos and then we'll talk about tactics and all that stuff. It's proper. I'm not even kidding. It's really intense. Like, we really push the limits, right? And it's 11-11 football. So it's not kind of like 5-a-side football. It's like the full pitch, right? And, you scream at each other, you push each other. It's kind of like going to war back then. It was crazy. And then you take a shower, go back home, you're absolutely destroyed after that, right? And then you still have to study. You study till like midnight or 1. And then next day you do it all over again. And then probably the next day you don't train on the field. You go to the gym, right? With your whole football team, right? It's so intense. And the expectation and the stress on you is to make sure that you keep your scholarship, because if you don't do well, you lose your scholarship, you get sent back home. So that was my Singapore experience. So that was crazy, absolutely insane.
It sounds like a back-to-back, no stop, right?
Yeah.
So can you choose your co-curricular activity?
Yeah, so don't get me wrong, because I chose a very physically demanding co-curricular because I love football, right? So that's fine. Some people chose violin. So they play the violin or the trumpet or whatnot. So maybe it's less physically demanding. But then some performing arts are really demanding in terms of, for example, management, coordination, so on and so forth. And they take time to coordinate, right? So it's a different type of demand and it's a different type of stress.
And do you have to pick one?
You have to pick one. You get graded on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have grades on football?
Yeah, it's different to PE, physical education, because physical education is in itself a subject, but then your co-curricular activity is something else. And that shows your leadership, your skills outside of academic. And when you apply for university, you get, there's a proper section just to talk about your co-curricular activity.
And your coach will mark you?
Yes.
So
I will give you feedback, like give you a proper paragraph of description of how you perform.
I see. So there's no easy co-curricular then. So
to be honest, there are some co-curriculars that are less popular, that are easier, less physically demanding, right? And saves you a bit more time. So if you're the person who's like super pragmatic,
yes,
you're so ruthless with your time and you're not into co-curricular or you don't have like a particular passion that you really want to follow, then you pick those. I can't remember which ones, but I'm sure there were some that some people picked, right?
Yeah, like a cheat sheet, right? I just want to spend time there. This is one.
Yeah. So back then I had no social life. I didn't even know about Marina Sand Base. So I went back to Singapore like a few months ago, right? I was so amazed, like, oh my God, this is the country that I studied in. Because I was like 95% of the time, I was just inside the school campus.
Wow.
Right. And even in the weekends, I was studying or going to the gym or playing basketball because I love sport. I love football as well. So casual football as well in the weekend. But I didn't go out. I didn't go much. Yeah.
That's crazy. No, but that sounds like you're well developed,
well drilled.
well-rounded.
It's like going to the army.
Yeah, you have physical exercise, you have sports, and then you have academic.
Yeah, so that's the Singapore education system. It's not, even if you don't take a sport for your co-curricular activity, right? What happens is every year it's compulsory for every single student, unless you have like some medical exempt, right? Exemption. But every year, every student will have to do this NAFTA test. And this NAFTA test is like 5 or 6 different exercises that you have to pass. So one of them is running 2.5 kilometers or 2.4 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have to hit a certain time. Then one of them is like, pull-ups. You have to do a number of pull-ups, and it's like proper pull-ups, like with your hands straight. It's not any of the bent
Crazy.
arms. Yeah.
Even girls.
Yeah, even girls.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
girls, you have like incline pull-ups. So it's slightly different. And then there's like a jumping test. And then there are all these exercises. Because you know why? Because Singapore is such a small country. And it wants its population to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
In terms of both academic and also physical-wise. So that in the scenario of a national emergency, everyone is ready. Because it's such a small nation. It has to defend itself. And that's insane. I love it. But it was also super intense.
Yeah, no, I feel the education system there is very well rounded, and if there's no stress or if there's less stress, I think that would be an ideal system where people can enjoy more.
Yeah.
Right? If there's much less focus on grades and things like that.
I think it's also because of, once again, it's my school in particular as well, right? There's always this stress of being the number one. You are from Raffles Institution. You have to be the best.
Yeah. So let's touch on my my less stress version. My high school is split across 3 different schools actually, because I moved house.
Okay.
First of all, my high school was in Liquidon High School, so it has air conditioning. So ooh, great! That was a good school back then, right? We have air conditioning, we have projector, which is great. But we rarely used it. We just use it in our own time. Anyway, high school there was great, but similar to secondary school. Again, lots of reading, student reading out. You have to go to extra classes again. But now we have social activity. So that was when I first learned about popping and locking.
Wow.
Jabberwockies, we had our dance crew back there, which is copy exactly what the Jabberwocky does. And there's an event, like the Teacher's Day event, where you register, you do some act, dancing or singing. So that was my co-curricular activities back then. So the main focus is still on studying, learning. Yeah, so it went by like that. It's still confusing, but there are some good teachers. So now I realize that, okay, if the teacher is passionate like this is how you learn.
What do you mean good teacher?
First of all, they don't offer evening classes. That's a good sign.
What? Okay.
They're more likely going to teach everything in the main time, in the main class, right?
Yeah.
So that's number 1 indication. Number 2 is, like when you said your English teacher doesn't touch the textbook. I think that's when good things happen.
Because she's already memorized everything. Like the physics guy, he probably memorized everything, and then he could just go in and monologue for like 45 minutes and then leave the class.
But he still have to read it from the book, right? But when a teacher goes in, not touch the books, but explain it in a way that can relate to people.
Yeah.
Use realistic examples, not examples from textbook. Then you get the attention. At first I was worried.
It's always Hua, isn't it? it's always Hua and Ming or something.
The example person. Yeah. And at first when the teacher teach like that, I was worried because I thought education is more, you need to copy. Right?
Yeah.
And I thought she's wasting time because I need time to copy the content from the board to my notebook.
Yeah.
So I can study later. But now she's taking time, not writing anything on the board, but explaining, having fun. But then I found out, okay, this is actually more interesting.
Yeah.
But there's only 1 or 2 teachers like that. The rest were like, okay, come to my evening classes. So after that, I went to the UK. and I did A levels. I received not a full scholarship, but a part scholarship. I think it's a marketing scheme to get you go. We'll give you a few percent discount. You can go like a push. And my mom was like, okay. Anyway, A levels in the UK, Brighton, is very different. First of all, numbers of subjects, there's only 4, and you can choose.
That's amazing.
How many subjects did you study in Raffles?
4.
And there are breaks in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in high school in Vietnam, it's fully packed. 9 to, is it 9? I don't know. It's 7 to 5 or something. I don't know. But fully packed, no breaks. There's lunch break and play break. Which we don't do homework. But in the UK, 4 subjects which you pick, and there are many breaks in between. So I feel much more relaxed. And the teachers, the way they teach is also very, very engaging. Yeah, no evening class again. I don't think that's allowed.
Were you able to follow?
Not at first. I was late for a couple of weeks, and when I went in, my English was not that good as well.
Were you the only Asian in the class?
No, there were many Asians. They were Chinese.
Okay. So a lot of Asians got scammed into taking the scholarship.
Yeah, exactly. But this is an international school. So I did not study with British. I went to a A-level school in Britain, and I studied with Chinese.
So there were just like, a dozen of confusing longs in the class.
But no, there were also other like Russian or Singaporean. Yeah, that's a Singaporean. I met some of my very close Singaporean friends there.
He probably made you do push-ups and run around the track.
They could not get into Raffles, so yeah. But they were good guys. Anyway, I had lots of free time, and I was not used to it, and also English was not strong at the time.
Yeah.
Before going to the UK, I had to take lots of evening classes to learn English.
Yes, you talked about all of your centers, or your IL centers.
Oh my God, I have I really want to say thank you to my mom, right? Because first of all, I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want to study English. I don't know where should I study. But my mom find out, that there's no internet. She's got a full-time job, but she managed to find all these centers, pay, and pick up and drop off me, at night.
I'm glad you mentioned pay. I'm so glad that my mom found all of these centers, pick up and drop me. But then I paid.
But yeah, these are a big deal back then, right? These were from foreign teachers. My mom wanted the best English experience for me.
Yeah.
That's why I get this American accent that I have right now.
Yeah.
Right?
She probably sent you to a hypnotizing class.
It went on for years. When I was in 3rd grade, all the way to 10th grade. So that's 7 years of just evening classes in English. Because English in the daytime in Vietnamese school is just not good enough.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Once again, my teacher in secondary school was revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like the way she taught was just so different to all the other teachers everywhere. I'm super grateful for that.
And that teacher is rare, right? It's not
very rare.
Every school. So your English is gonna suffer. And then in my case, I have to make up for that with those evening classes.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Mom, for sponsoring my English education.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so that prepared me a little bit of English, but there's still a little bit of... but I studied American accent. I'm used to that. When I went to the UK, I couldn't listen what they were talking about. Because...
Okay, I'm going to drop a fact here, and it's going to blow your mind, okay?
Okay.
Do you know that Convo Comrades is actually American? The British way of pronouncing it is Convo Comrades. I've been living a lie. I've been living a lie.
Convo Comrades.
Comrades
is American.
Comrade is British. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I've just been watching movies and they always pronounce it as comrades.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're American movies. I'm so disappointed in myself. Oh my God.
Oh, that's fine. American is good. So, yeah.
Not really. Okay. Come on then.
Anyway, Struggle a little bit with understanding British accent, but after I have more time to study.
Mm-hmm.
I have more time to do homework. So I just find myself with loads of time. And there's no extracurricular activity. The school doesn't offer those. Well, maybe they offer, but I just don't know. So then I find my own hobby of bodybuilding, right? so that's when I realized education is also learning for your hobbies, because you need to learn lots of things, how to prevent injuries, things like that. And you don't learn only from your teacher, but also your friends and online, YouTube. Yeah, so A-levels in the UK was revolutionary for me because I have so much time, less pressure, and I find my hobby, my first ever hobby, bodybuilding.
And it's the first time that you're put in an entirely foreign environment to live by yourself as well. So you got to manage yourself. You got to manage your day-to-day life. You got to manage your time, and then manage what your passions are, all by yourself. That's great.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little bit when I first landed. So I
It's fine. I cried as well. I got beaten up by a little kid, the Andy kid.
But you were with your parents in the same country, right?
Yeah, true.
So you have support there. When I went to the UK, I think I was 17. Or was it 6? No, it was before that. 10th grade, 16 maybe. I went by myself, first time ever on a flight, international, alone. My mom offered to go with me as well. Then I thought, no, let's save money. You don't have to spend on a flight ticket.
Sorry, I don't need you.
So I landed. I cried a little bit for one day, but then after I met friends, teachers, they were all supportive. I live with a host family, so I don't live in the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so British host family. That's my only.
You were allocated a host family.
Yes.
Do you still keep in touch with them?
Yes, on Facebook.
Do they listen to this podcast?
I don't know. Maybe
they probably do.
If they are, then hello, hi.
Sue, look, do you know this is Long? What's gotten into him these days?
No, they're great.
Wait, but how? So you stayed at their place, and then do you pay for rent, or how does it work?
I pay the school, and the school pays them. It's actually through the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell them, hey, you want to cut the middleman?
No, I don't.
Blockchainize this.
I don't think of that. We actually did that after I finished school. There was a period where the school was like, okay, you have to move out now. That's it. End. You can go home. But then I wanted to stay a little bit longer. Then I asked my host family, I want to stay a little bit longer. What steps do I need to do to make it materialize?
Step 1, put your hand in your pocket. Step 2, take out your wallet.
Yeah, and then they offered, okay, you can just pay us directly, whatever you're paying the school.
That's amazing, because they get more, right?
Yeah.
You're paying the same thing, but they get more, and then probably they don't get taxed as well.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
These guys, call them out. Call them out now. What's their address? What are their names?
But no, they're great people. They cook dinner. They do laundry. And I go on travel trips with them.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So they took me on I think Cornwall.
Is it just a couple?
No, my host family is actually a grandparent, and then her daughter and her family lives close by.
Okay.
So I get to experience Sunday roast where the whole family comes together.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I babysit the kids sometimes too. So it's like a whole family experience, and I appreciate that.
Probably not going to happen now, isn't it? Given COVID. Now we're going to be talking about our university experience, and I don't think it's going to be that different because we went to the same university. And then I think the most important thing is tying it back and what it means for the future of education. Are you ready, Long?
Okay, let's start with I want to share my university experience.
All right, go ahead then.
I studied accounting and finance at one of the most prestigious university in the United Kingdom.
You have this tendency to say something and then you round it off with laughing about it by yourself. And then normally I would laugh because you laugh, not because what you said was funny.
That's good, right? That's like deceiving, making someone laugh with your joke because you laugh.
Okay, come on then, continue.
I want to share this story.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know what I want to do in life
Mm-hmm.
up until now.
That's the same thing that I just said. You say something and then you laugh. But all right, come on then.
And my career choices has been suggested by my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So in A levels, we can choose subjects, right? One of the subject I chose was accounting because my mom suggested me on the route of auditing.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied accounting in A levels, and in university, I studied accounting and finance as well.
Why did she suggest auditing? It's quite specific.
Exactly. She has no background in accounting or auditing. She has background in interpreting, right? Translator. And at one time, she was translating for an auditor. And the impression that he gave her was this professional, very prestige guy from Big Four, suit and tie, he looks well presented.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom thought, okay, Long could be like this. Long, you're gonna be an auditor.
So that other kids can translate you.
Yeah, so that's how I got into accounting in A levels, and that prepped me really well for accounting and finance in university, which prepped me really well for my first job as an auditor at Big Four. So my mom's dream has been achieved.
Not your dream.
No, of course no. So we'll talk about careers in a minute. But yes, so that's my full journey there. It's been predefined by my mother, which I accepted because I thought she is sponsoring the whole journey, right? So you need to balance your shareholders' objective.
Wait, what's the alternative then? Was there a conflicting option that you wanted, but then you opted to go with your mum's preference?
Yes. I wanted to be an actor. I love acting. Why are you laughing?
What subjects do you study?
No, I wanted to be an actor when I was in high school. So back then, everyone studied the same subjects.
Yeah.
Right. So I said to my mom, I want to be an actor, Mom. I want to be like that guy on the TV. And then my mom was like, sure, you're going to be an auditor.
What are you talking about, stupid?
My mom gave me a false promise. She said, you can be an actor after you've become an auditor.
Yeah, that's the trick, isn't it?
And because in auditing, you need to work for 3 years and study towards chartered accountant, and you need to qualify for it. And then she said, you can become an actor after you've got that qualification.
So that means now you can become an actor.
Yes, but now that I've gained qualification in accounting, right, it's easier to make money in this field versus starting from scratch. So she tricked me into this position. Now when I weigh up the pros and cons, I thought, okay, it's not that easy anymore.
It's kind of like the golden cage problem or the golden handcuff. I mean, it explains itself. You're stuck in a cage, but then it's made out of gold.
Yes.
Right? So you're really comfortable with your position, but then you feel stuck.
Yes, so...
Or like a golden handcuff.
Yes, golden. Guessed.
All right.
Back to university. But university experience was great. I loved it. I loved university. The stress is almost gone. There's no stress in studying at all. You need self-discipline a lot. This is where I met you. This is where I met our Vietnamese society, where we had great bonding.
This is how you met your mother? Wait, what? No, your wife?
Yes, that's how I met Lan, my fiance. Oh, it's great. Well, I love Vietnamese society. We didn't have a care in the world, right? We don't care about everyone's motive. Of course, there's politics, but it's more on little things, like you like that guy, you don't like that guy, but not money, not money motive. And that made the whole experience for me so much more carefree. Studying wise, yeah, self-discipline. You need to study by yourself a lot. Teachers are okay. They're called lecturers now. Classroom are huge. 150 people sometimes.
It's a lecture hall. It's not even a classroom.
Yes, lecture hall. It's huge. So I often sleep during lecture time.
So that goes well with your point on being disciplined, right?
And I find I study by myself better. I figure out a way to learn effectively on my own.
How did they teach you accounting and finance? How is that different to your experience in either A-levels or more so in Vietnam?
I feel learning accounting in university is bad because classrooms are large. They don't have time for you. So if you are learning from scratch, you would have a lot of questions. But luckily, my mom prepped me well. So I learned accounting in A-level, where the class size is only like 10 people.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people learn accounting. The teacher had so much time. So every questions I have, the teacher will answer directly, guide me throughout the way. But with a lecture hall with 150 people, you don't want to raise your hands too many times because that would slow down the class. Or even the lecturer won't answer in detail because there's so much time that they have to teach.
Have you ever raised your hand in a lecture and asked a question or made a comment?
No. But there are people who does that. So
yeah, I did that a few times. It's so scary. It's like you have to think so bloody hard. You think so bloody hard about how you're going to phrase it, how you're going to make yourself sound intelligent, and how value adding the question is going to be for the whole entire lecture. And then you get stressed and you start sweating like a mad dog. And then once you raise your hand, you give the question. You're hoping that the teacher receives it well, the lecturer receives it well, and they will be able to answer it, and that everyone will think that you're intelligent. And then afterwards, you're hoping that, okay, now everyone don't look at me anymore. Focus on the lecturer. It's a stressful experience. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm one of those guys who, whenever there's someone who raised their hand, and I thought, God, this lecture could have ended earlier. Why are you asking questions?
Content wasn't helpful for you.
But because my objectives was not aligned with theirs, right? I want to go home and study because I study by myself better. It's just a different style of study. And I think university gave you that chance to explore yourself. It gave you more time and you're supposed to use that time to explore yourself. Whereas in high school, you were packed with, back-to-back classes. You don't have time to explore yourself. But yeah, overall experience in university was okay. Studying wise, I don't remember a lot that I studied back then.
I think that's a recurring theme for you.
All I learned was social skills.
Did you?
Yes, social skills, how to talk to people. And just generally having a good time with the Vietnamese society. And I appreciate that. I think that's by itself is also education. Yeah, and to me, university is a great way of achieving that. How about you?
Okay, so university, once again, a new environment for me. I went from Singapore, did my A-levels, and then I got accepted into the University of Warwick as well. I studied politics and international studies because my father's a diplomat and he's really keen that one of us follows his footstep.
I see.
You can sort of tell he's very disappointed now. But my elder brother, he's very quantitative. He's very numbers focused. So he does like stuff regarding pension and all that stuff. Boring stuff. I did politics, so my father's like, oh yeah, we got a kid into the industry. He's gonna follow my footsteps, make me proud. Sorry, Dad, that's not happening. But I love politics. I love the subject, and I really enjoyed Warwick University for a number of reasons. Number one, it's not Singapore. So once I left the Singapore system, I went to Warwick. It was the easiest thing in my life. It was so easy. I didn't feel challenged in terms of the stress of studying. Everything was just like, holy shit, I have so much time. I can manage my own time. There's no stress of scholarship. The intensity is much lower as well. University to me was like, oh, it was kind of like a breeze. I don't want to sound arrogant, but because Singapore prepped me up so well, going to university in the UK, it was just like, oh, okay, this is amazing. I'm actually enjoying myself. Right? That's the first thing. And then second thing is I got to study something that I really liked. So in primary school for me, right? it was very much a discovery phase, exploratory. So it was fun and games. In secondary school, it was just like studying in a very weird environment. I made a lot of friends, but it was just very weird environment, you know, learning about subjects that are weird, and then the physics guy is just monologuing. That was a weird experience, but I enjoyed it. Singapore was hyper intense. You study 4 subjects, but I didn't like all 4 subjects. Right? In the university, you go very deep into one particular subject, and I really liked the subject. So overall, I just really enjoyed my university years. That's the second point. So it's studying a very specific subject that I like. And then the third point that I really like about university is that it really changed my personality and how I am, and it shapes the way that I am today. In the sense that studying this particular subject in university, it's sharpened me a lot in terms of my logic and my argumentative side. What I mean by that is, in politics, what happens is you study for yourself. It's very individualistic. You know, you'd imagine everyone in the class are Caucasians. They either come from the UK or somewhere in Europe. I'm the only Asian in the class because all the Asians are studying your course long.
Accounting and finance.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. If you go to the business school, accounting, finance, and management is all, you know, everyone from India or from China or just from the Far East, right?
Yeah.
But in my course, everyone's in Europe. And there are not a lot of people. There's no group work, right? So you go there and you just argue. You literally argue about stuff. So, for example, if it's international relations, you argue about, you know, Brexit, right? Is it good? Is it bad? And then if it's political philosophy, then you argue about the meaning of life. You argue about, you know, the train dilemma. You know about the train dilemma?
Yeah, 1 people, 5 people, right?
Yeah, exactly. You argue about all these philosophical stuff, and then you play scenarios to test each other's principles. And that's how I sharpen my logic and my reasoning so much in university. So it's less so about the content of international relations. It's good, but it's a medium for you to train a skill. Skill here is critical thinking, argumentative, and presenting your ideas in a concise and a logical way. And that to me is so valuable. And I think that course really changed how I think about things, and especially about political philosophy. That particular aspect changed my life a lot. All right, Long, I think we got to wrap up. The first episode is a bit too long now. And then maybe in the next episode, we can talk about broader topics on careers and jobs afterwards and the future of education.
I agree. Thank you for listening, guys, to this episode. Join the community at Convo Comrades on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram. As for now, bye-bye.